This is Ben Hogan, the best ball striker that golf has ever seen. And Ben Hogan had a secret that he said was in the dirt. But Hogan left clues buried away here and here and here. It went largely unnoticed at the time. People obsessed over his golf swing, and they went looking for answers there. It was only years later when golfers took the lessons of Hogan's words and then started applying mathematics to it that they discovered the extent of Hogan's intuitive genius. Hogan's secret, it turns out, was actually a strategy, a game plan of sorts, and one that was hiding in plain sight this entire time. Once you understand it and you start to use it like the pros do, it'll start seeming obvious. It'll make golf a little easier, just like it did for Hogan, and you'll be able to play better golf because of it. Ben Hogan's most famous quote is that golf is a game of misses. He who misses the best wins. But what does that actually mean? In some ways, the game most like golf is a card game, like blackjack. We know what cards are in the deck, but we don't know what specific card is coming up next. The same way we don't know if we're about to hit a good shot or a bad shot. Our job is to make our best guess, place a bet, hit, and hope. But hope isn't a strategy. So how should golfers deal with all this randomness and luck in a way that actually can help them shoot lower scores? That's the question that former pro golfer and mathematician Scott Fawcett obsesses over. It was this question that led to Scott founding the course management system Decade Golf, which is used by pros and high-level amateurs all over the world. He knows the numbers, and his advice to you is simple. That randomness is part of golf, and there's simply no way around it. But you can use math to account for that randomness, and to start to stack the odds in your favor.
The game of golf is entirely about the shotgun idea, but instead of 50 BBs coming out of the shotgun, only one does, and you just don't know which one's coming. I know which one you want to come out. Like people say sometimes you just got to suck it up and hit a good shot. That's not how it works. Otherwise, you should have done that for 72 holes. You just don't get to suck it up and hit a good shot on call.
To understand how this works in practice, imagine you stand on the same spot in an open field and hit, let's call it 100 shots with every single club in your bag. You hit a few perfect ones with each club, but most of your shots go left or right. You stripe some, but others you hit in the toe or heel, so those go a little shorter. You go from your wedges to your driver, and then you put them all together. When you do that, it forms a kind of ice cream cone. This cone represents golfers' total range of left and right misses at each distance. For pros, the top of that cone at about 300 yards will span 70 yards wide, meaning that if the average pro hit 100 300-yard drives, most of their drives will miss either 35 yards left or right of their intended target. For amateur golfers, it's obviously wider. They may miss 35 yards in each direction at 250 yards. But either way, all these shots together form your ice cream cone of misses. And this is what you should be thinking about on every shot, on every hole, every single time you play. To see why, think of your ice cream cone of misses and start plugging it onto golf courses, like the 18th hole at TPC Sawgrass. It's not about where your best shot ends up, it's about where all of your shots would have ended up. One good drive, it looks fine on paper. But if you were to aim your entire miss cone down the middle of the fairway like the course's yardage book suggests, upwards of 30% of your drives would end up in the water. So, what do pros do? They aim their miss cone into places that sometimes look pretty weird. Like on this hole, Scott wants players to aim almost directly at the trees on the right, because it shifts the left side of their miss cone onto the fairway. It's weird, yes, because it does mean that occasionally those pros will hammer a near perfect drive into the trees or cart path. But by aiming your miss cone here, you've taken your worst 30% of misses, the water balls that would have cost you about 1.5 strokes on the field, and you've moved them in play. That alone would save them about a stroke and a half to their competitors. Meanwhile, on the other side of the cone, yes, you have made your right misses slightly worse. But only slightly, maybe a third of a stroke worse. They're all still in play after all. Overall, you're coming out way ahead, because you're leaving your worst misses in a mathematically better spot in exchange for only a slight downgrade on the other side. This was Justin Thomas's strategy when he won the Players in 2021. JT aimed down the right with hopes of hitting a draw, then accidentally hit something that was close to a snap hook right down the left side of the fairway.
Playing that big right to left looper.
Easy.
It got close yesterday.
Oh boy, that got an incredible first bounce.
Yeah, it could have veered left. It's still going to go left, but
If he had aimed down the middle, JT would have lost that year. This same miss cone concept happens into greens. Scott tells golfers all the time to forget about the pin. Remove it from your mind. Aim for the middle of the green, turn your brain off, and let the randomness happen. Here's why. Let's say you aimed straight at the Sunday pin on the right of TPC Sawgrass's 17th green. Again, about a third of your miss cone would have ended up in the water. But aim towards the middle, and you've turned most of those would-be water balls again into birdie putts. Meanwhile, the left side of your misses, they're still on the green. Sure, they may be a little further away, but from outside of 30 feet, tour players still 2-putt or better more than 90% of the time. Again, it's a good trade worth making. And then sometimes you'll get a little lucky, like Cameron Smith did at the 2022 Players Championship. With the Sunday pin tucked over to the right, Cameron Smith aimed over the left side of the bunker, aligned just right of the middle of the green, and then, just like JT the year before, he hit a shot he didn't mean to.
This is way more aggressive than I anticipated. Oh, man! What a shot!
Cameron Smith blocked his fade slightly too far to the right, but it grabbed the tiniest slice of the green.
I'd be lying if I said I was aiming there. I was probably aiming 10 feet left of that, but still wanted to stay aggressive, still wanted to make birdie. And
then Cameron Smith made the putt. He ended up winning. His hero shot, it was actually a miss. Which is kind of funny, because if Cameron Smith had actually tried to hit the hero shot, he would have lost. Look closely and you'll start to notice tour players doing this everywhere. Like, did you ever notice where Tiger Woods was aiming on his iconic fairway bunker shot at the 2000 Canadian Open? Right to the middle of the green. He accidentally blocked this shot to the right, but it turned into one of the coolest and maybe best shot of his career.
That looked like it might have went right.
This is right on line.
What a shot.
Does it get any better than this, guys?
Matt Fitzpatrick did something similar at the 2022 US Open. He admitted that from the fairway bunker, if he would have hit his ball straight, it would have ended on the front left portion of the green. But some accidental adrenaline sent his ball fading more severely towards the pin. 2 putts later, and he was the US Open champion. There are countless examples, but the point is that this is how tour players aim. They don't think about their perfect shot, they think about all their shot, and especially about their misses. That may mean aiming into the rough sometimes, and it will mean aiming away from almost every pin. It won't leave your best shots in the best spots, but it will leave your bad shots in better spots. And that's the entire point. That's what playing the odds in golf looks like. And that's what Hogan figured out himself before he had any data to validate it. Ben Hogan wrote that golfers should never, under any circumstances, aim at a pin when it was on the corner of a green. Why? Because of where it would leave his misses. Hogan would talk about clubbing up when the pin was at the front of the green and then making shorter 3/4 swings to back pins, because that moved his potential misses up and down to avoid the short side. Hogan said he didn't make more holes in one because he would always aim at the quote fattest part of the green, and he constantly told golfers to play really safe, to use their common sense, and to, above all else, play to leave your misses in the best possible spot. The truth is that even for the best ball strikers in the game, the best shots, they're usually mistakes. And that's okay. Golf is a game of misses, like Hogan said, and he was right. So plan for them, play them, and who knows, you may even hit an accidentally perfect shot along the way.